Welcome to This Explainer. Okay, so today we're taking on a massive, really specific mission. We're going to break down exactly how to build real sustainable wealth, and we're using a grounded, step-by-step system from the Growth Vault called the Money Growth Ladder. Now look, we're not talking about getting rich overnight here, or, chasing some wild crypto strategy. No way. We're diving into the actual, unglamorous, but totally essential mechanics of moving from just relying on a single paycheck to actually building extra income and long-term assets.
But first, let's just start with a quick mental exercise, kind of like a gut check. I want you to imagine you're just going about your normal week. Everything feels perfectly routine. And then, bam, a surprise $500 bill lands right in your lap. And the absolute worst part? It's due tomorrow. Just staring at that $500 reality, how do you feel? For most of us, our chest literally tightens up, right? You instantly start cycling through this mental Rolodex of your credit cards, just desperately trying to figure out which one even has enough balance to cover it.
Listen, that visceral fight-or-flight anxiety, it is entirely real. And the immediate reaction is almost always to think, man, if I just had a massive raise, this wouldn't happen. But here's the thing, this solution isn't actually a bigger salary, it's a system. Money becomes incredibly emotional specifically when it's invisible to us. So our main goal today is to shift you from being a passive passenger who's just reacting to financial surprises to an active owner of your money with a rigid, reliable system.
So here's our exact roadmap to systematically dismantle all that financial stress. First, we'll look at the ladder. Second, we'll stop leaks and build buffers. Third, we kill high-interest debt. Fourth, we'll launch a $0 startup. And finally, step 5, we convert income into assets.
All right, section 1, the ladder. This is your progression to wealth.
Money growth, it's not some single magic trick. It's a sequential ladder. And what's absolutely crucial to understand here is that the order is everything. Skipping steps is mathematically dangerous. Seriously, people so often try to jump straight to step 6, which is investing, way before stabilizing their cash flow or, killing off that suffocating 20% credit card debt. That's literally like trying to build a roof before you've even poured the foundation. We have to follow the progression.
Moving on to Section 2, Stop Leaks and Build Buffers. This is all about addressing that invisible money problem.
Have you ever worked your tail off, finally gotten that promotion, and felt this massive sense of relief, only to look around, say, 6 months later, and realize you're still living exactly paycheck to paycheck? Yeah, that is lifestyle creep. And it's insidious because it's completely silent. Basically, your baseline expectations for comfort just naturally expand to consume every single new dollar of income. A raise often just makes our bad habits more expensive.
Now to fight this, the source material recommends a truly brilliant psychological framework called the two-list technique. So on one side, you have your upgrades list. This is the new TV, the nicer apartment, the immediate comforts. But on the other side is your freedom list. This is paying off suffocating debt, building an emergency fund, choices that literally buy your future self more options. Lifestyle creep completely takes over when your upgrades list is a mile long and your freedom list is completely blank.
Once we finally stop those leaks, we've got to build a buffer. But don't just call it an emergency fund. We're calling it a self-insurance shield. Because that's what it is. You are actively insuring yourself against the inevitable chaos of life. But for this shield to actually work, the funds can only be touched if an expense meets all 3 of these incredibly rigid rules. It absolutely must be unexpected, urgent, and necessary. Think about it. A car registration is necessary, sure, but you knew it was coming for a whole year, so it's definitely not unexpected. Bending these rules degrades the entire structural integrity of your shield.
All right, Section 3, kill high-interest debt. It's time to starve the debt engine.
You see, high-interest debt is basically reverse investing. Credit cards often compound daily against you, acting as this inescapable wealth trap. To starve this engine, you've really got 2 attack plans. The avalanche method is for the mathematically focused brain. This is where you attack the absolute highest interest rate first, simply because it saves you the most money. The snowball method, however, is deeply behavioral. You attack the smallest balance first, get a massive psychological win, and then use that momentum to tackle the rest. The key? Just choose the one you'll actually stick to.
Section 4, the $0 startup. We are transitioning from just saving to actually earning.
Because to really build wealth, we have to shift from defense to offense. You can only cut your budget down to 0, right? Eventually, you just need a larger shovel. You need more income. We're so culturally conditioned to believe that starting a business requires this massive bank loan and all this risky inventory. But that's just not true. The fastest path is monetizing an existing skill or using this advanced strategy called drop servicing, which is also known as service arbitrage. In this model, you act purely as a project manager. Say you find a local business that needs a new website. You sell them a package for $1,500, and then you hire a vetted global freelancer for $700 to actually build it. You keep that $800 margin. You're providing value through curation, building trust, and managing the friction, and you do it without needing a shred of technical coding expertise yourself.
But hold on, before you run off to start a business, listen to this frankly terrifying statistic. 42%. 42% of startups completely fail for one absolutely brutal reason. They spend months building something absolutely nobody wants. It is the ultimate tragic waste of human energy.
So the absolutely crucial point here is that you must rigorously test demand before you spend a single dollar. Here is your 4-step validation insurance policy. First, define the exact problem you're solving. Second, actually talk to potential customers. Seriously, don't hide in silence out of some fear that someone's going to steal your idea. Third, check the competition. If someone else is doing it, that actually proves a paying market exists. And fourth, get a tangible commitment, even if it's just an email address, before you build a thing.
Finally, Section 5. Convert income into assets. This is where we fuel the compounding snowball.
Okay, so you've stopped the leaks, you've killed the debt, and you've actually created surplus income from your $0 startup. Awesome. Now, before we even talk about what to buy, we absolutely must understand the foundational math that powers wealth. Simple interest is basically a linear, kind of boring trudge. You only ever earn interest on your initial deposit. But compound interest, that is an expanding snowball rolling down a massive hill. You earn interest on your principal, plus all the previously earned interest. Over decades, this mathematical force bends upward exponentially. And time is the ultimate, irreplaceable fuel for that engine. Think about this number. This is the difference in final net worth in a case study from the sources. We have Sam, who started investing $2,000 a year at age 25, and Alex, who waited until age 35 to invest the exact same amount. Assuming a 5% return, Alex finishes with over $18,000 less. That's nearly half the money, and it's purely because of a 10-year delay. Time in the market truly does all the heavy lifting.
So where do you actually park your money? Well, the sources provide this wonderfully pragmatic timeline rule. If you need the cash in 0 to 3 years, you've got to prioritize safety and cash equivalents. I mean, you can't risk a market crash right before buying a house, right? If your goal is 4 to 6 years out, you balance it between bonds and equities. Think of bonds as your short-term shock absorbers. But if your goal is 7 years or more, you fully embrace market equities. Stocks are basically the massive sales catching the wind for your long-term growth.
But look, none of this immaculate logic matters if your primitive human brain panics and sells everything during a market dip. That's exactly why you must use dollar-cost averaging. This brilliantly boring strategy forcefully removes our evolutionary urge to panic sell. By committing to investing a fixed dollar amount every single month, rain or shine, you automatically buy more shares on a discount when the market crashes and fewer when it's peaking. It just smooths out the ride and completely removes the emotion.
As we wrap up this explainer, I really want you to remember this profound mantra from the Growth Vault: return faster. Listen, financial perfection is a toxic myth. Over a 30-year journey, you are going to blow your budget. You will make mistakes. The people who actually win are the ones who build resilience. They forgive themselves for slipping up, and they simply return to the system the very next morning. Resilience beats perfection every single time.
And finally, I'll leave you with this one provocative thought. If you follow this ladder, you will eventually reach a mathematical singularity, where the quiet compounding of your investments and the managed arbitrage of your side hustle completely sustain your existence. So, ask yourself, what will you actually do with your life, your identity, and your time when your automated systems completely out-earn the physical, grinding labor of your own two hands? Take your very first step on the ladder today, and let's find out.